record on this computer. Okay, there we go. Kylie's about to go off to the beach. That's okay, I understand. You can catch this webinar later anyway. Of course, it will remain on the Facebook group and it will be posted in the forum as well. So I've got a few questions coming through and I will get to them, of course, as well. So hi, everyone. Julia here. I'm chiming in as this Cosmic Intelligence Agency because that's how my webinar platform is set up, and it's a lot easier than sort of fiddling into log into the new paradigm. So I'm just using that, and good to see so many of you there. As I was just saying to everyone, yeah, welcome to Eclipse season. Well, we're already in it. We've been in it probably for a couple of weeks already. And yeah, feeling it. I'm sure all of us are feeling it somehow. So, so what I want to get through today is, you know, some things that I get asked all the time is like, so the eclipse is, you know, like Kylie said, is happening on my North Node. You know, what does that mean? Now, of course, we're all going to have an idea of what that means because of what we're feeling. Okay, so with the nodal axis in Cancer and Capricorn, we know that that's in that area of our chart. So all eclipses besides the next one, which will be at zero Aquarius, we're in that zone of our charts where Cancer and Capricorn are. So that's the highlight for these 18 months that, you know, the eclipses are happening in that zone. And you know, if you haven't got sort of an idea of what's already going on for you, I mean, you have to, because you're living your life. So it's all happening somehow. And looking for things to, let's say, adapt to that or put into it can be often very confusing, like what's supposed to be happening to me, right? If this eclipse is happening on my North Node, what's supposed to be happening to me? You know, just answering Kylie's question, yeah, on your North Node, what house is it in, Kylie? You know, on the North Node, of course, this is a real focus point of changing directions, or a real focus point about the future, okay? It's the North Node. It's the South Node on the North Node, right? The South Node, it's a South Node eclipse, the one we're just having now, 15 Capricorn. So it's a reversal of, you know, what's the past got to do with where I'm going now, and that type of thing. So it's in the 10th. So for Kylie, that reversal of like, what's all the things that I've, let's say, forgotten to focus on about my future because the past is kind of holding me up, you know, like my responsibilities, my all the things that I've got to do with family and kids, and 10th house, very much so about the family axis, of course, and career, and that sacred balance of, you know, how do I do this? How do I keep my career as a mother and then do and keep responsible for what I have to do? It's not like we can just leave the family alone and they're going to look after themselves. It's that sacred balance. So when you've got a nodal reversal like that, you're really, you know, focusing on bringing back some of the things from the past that not you've forgotten, but maybe you haven't implemented, or they come back to you. Right? Things come back to you to reflect on and go, oh yeah, that's right. Because the South Node is very much about resources that we have that maybe we overutilize, and we need to bring in new information, new developments, new ideas, new people in order to move on. Or we need to, let's say, cut off a few things that are getting in the way. All right? So if we begin from that point, I'm going to now share my screen. Which one is it? This one here. And just have a quick check what's going on in the Facebook page here before I do so. Yeah, so I can field the questions, and I've got that turned down. All right. Okay, most of you are online here, and of course that's, I think, perhaps a lot better anyway, because it's clearer to sort of see and answer questions. So let me begin with that. And I just got to no, that's all right. Okay, sorry. Can you see my my pointer? Can you see my pointer? Annotate. Mouse. Here we go. Here's my mouse. Now I'm hoping that that works there. All right. So hang on. Kylie was saying, yeah, the penny dropped. Thank you. I'm big on family time right now and surrendering to the universe of what is next. And you know, answering that question as well, what is the eclipse doing to me? Again, you already know somewhat, and you need to sort of sit and reflect and really kind of dig into the meaning of it and whatever sort of planets or angles that this, I'm just going to concentrate on the 15 cap eclipse for now. You know, where's that taking me to? Because what we know about eclipses is they open portals, especially solar ones. Right, they open portals to new beginnings. It's solar, so it's new, right? And then lunar eclipses 2 weeks later, we've got the lunar eclipse at 0 Leo. That's like a an opening and a revelation type of idea. So in a sense, we don't know the full story yet. This is going to keep opening up for us in this eclipse season, and then, you know, kind of following on into July of this year as well. So they come in, you know, in groups, okay? And we're going to talk about a bit more about that right now. But so these are the eclipses of this year. So pretty much what you want to do is put all these eclipse dates around your chart, or the degrees, okay? So 15 Capricorn, 0 Leo, 10 Cancer on the other side, 24 Capricorn, and 4 Capricorn. And we want to, you know, so again, you get this idea of what section of your astrology chart is really being highlighted by this Cancer Capricorn axis, okay? So I'll put this up in the new, like with this video, the notes here, so you don't have to be wildly taking notes, but you can copy, you know, have the PDF and continue to sort of work with that as we go. Or, you know, afterwards, like everything that you go through in an astrology webinar, you need to implement it. Like, we're all learning and we're all at different stages of developing our astro know-how, so to speak. So it's all about integrating what I do today and then putting it into your chart, okay? For some of you, it might seem a little bit advanced, but I think there's good reason to know these things that I'm going to go through, because again, there's a lot of information about eclipses in general, or the meaning of Cancer and Capricorn. I don't think I need to go into that too much, although that's going to come up. So I want to get a little bit technical to get you to do some, let's say, research into your own chart and eclipses and what they mean to you. Because as I said, some of them are going to be more potent than others. And you sort of think, which ones are they going to be, okay? And looking back in your life and the eclipse kind of dramas that have happened into your life already, or big moments in your life, let's say, go back to those years and find out where the eclipses, where the nodes were during those big transitions of your life, and you get a better idea or a bigger idea of which ones really do sort of, let's say, take you through the dragon hole into new directions, or change, you know, or change the karmic patterns that you know, leave something behind and start anew. Okay, so as we know, these eclipses, so what we want you to do is put 15 degrees, 0 degrees Aquarius, 10 degrees, these are all Cancer Capricorn, except for this 0 Aquarius one, as I showed before, and highlight them in your chart, okay? So they're going to kind of jump around a little bit. They jump around the nodes, depending on, you know, where the sun is at a particular time of year. So, of course, yeah, eclipses happen around the nodes, and the nodal cycle is 18.6 years. And around those nodes, we have what we call the different types of eclipses, and we have a 19-year cycle of eclipses called the Metonic cycle. So the Metonic cycle, it's like the 15-degree Capricorn eclipse that just happened, also happened in the year 2000 at the same degree. And the Metonic cycle of eclipses repeat, every 19 years, but they only sort of happen for five cycles, like 5 19-year cycles, and then they peter out. So that's one type of eclipse, okay? And then the other one is called the Saros cycle of eclipses, and the Saros cycle is 18 years, 11 days, and I think it's 8 hours. And so with the Metonic cycle, we're repeating the exact degree, 15 degrees of Capricorn, okay? But with the Saros cycle, we're repeating the cycle every 18 years, but it moves 11 degrees ahead in the zodiac. So this next time, the eclipse at 15 degrees of Capricorn that happened will happen in 18 years and 11 days, and it happened 18 years and 11 days ago as well, if that makes sense. So therefore, you can look at every eclipse that happens and look back 18 years and look back 19 years as well. So you're in that, you know, again, the nodal sort of pattern there of 18.6 years. So all eclipses, you're looking at 19, 18-year cycles and going, what happened in that 18th year, okay? And the most significant ones that astrologers work with are the ones that happened when your nodes return. So at the ages of 18, 36 and 54, although the nodal returns are more like the year after, 37, 55 and so on. But it's the pre-eclipse year that we're looking at that is the most significant at the ages of, again, 18, 36, 54 and so on. And that will make more sense as we go. What happened there? Okay. Oh, this didn't come out very clear. But what we know about, eclipses is that they're called dragon lines, okay? Or they've got to do with what the Vedic astrologers call Rahu and Ketu, the north node and the south node. And they're known as the dragon's head and the dragon's tail. And in order to sort of fly the dragon, the all-consuming Rahu, which is the north node, with this insatiable appetite to sort of keep going and flying, you know, through time and space. And then the south node, which, let's say, can prohibit that flying. That's how I see it. And it's a really great image of, you know, how we're flying, how we're evolving, how we're moving through time at these significant points of time. And of course, the dragon's head and the dragon's tail come together in eclipses with an ancient symbol. I think it sort of stems from Egypt and probably way before as well, of time being, you know, repeating the same patterns and the cycles that come back for us. And that's what we want to know about eclipses and our own charts. You know, what are those cycles that are repeating that are the most important for us? And this is the symbol, of course, of the Ouroboros, okay? I haven't written down that word, but it's Uroborous. And it has everything to do with how we cope with endings and beginnings, new beginnings, and then endings all happening at once. Okay, so which one is it? It's all happening at once. Okay, so that's also something to remember, that where it's not just about new beginnings with this solar eclipse, it's also a cycle that is ending at the same time. So very, very potent. And of course, I mean, I suppose you could just do all of astrology with just eclipses as well. Now, as I was talking about the Saros cycles, this is what we call, you know, when we see eclipse paths. Now, these are eclipse paths that show where the eclipses are visible at any particular time around the planet. And as you can see, they do look like, you know, somewhat like dragon lines, just kind of flaring up somewhere and flaring up somewhere again every 6 months, you know, around the planet. But what we see with Saros cycles, when we know our own family of eclipses, that they repeat in the same part of the sky or same part of the earth, or on the same part of the earth every third cycle. So if we start down the bottom here in 1901, just this is an example, an eclipse happened over Indonesia and Northern Australia. And then the next time it happened 18 years and 11 days later, and you can look at the dates here, 1919, from May the 18th to May the 29th. It's 11 days, but it's also 18 years. It happens 1/3 around the planet again. And then the next time it happens, 18 years and 11 days later, is another 1/3 around the planet. So this is how eclipses become very predictable about where they're happening and what they're, where they're going to be on the planet. And then 18 years later again, it happens just above or below, depending on which eclipse it is, where again it was on the planet last 3 cycles ago. So then a lot of astrologers will say the years of 54 become the most significant. It's kind of like half-life in a sense, maybe bit beyond half-life for most of us, that they come back to the same place in the sky and the same, let's say, not area, because they've moved along 11 degrees every time. Anyway, you're probably going, what the heck is she talking about? But this will make sense to you, all right? So now I've just put in, again, mainly for the notes as well that you'll get, is how to find these things online. So NASA has an eclipse catalogue of like 5,000 years of eclipses, and it's got solar eclipses and lunar eclipses, okay? So you can look up solar eclipses, that's the top one, and lunar eclipses to find out whichever ones you are looking for. So at any particular time, let's say you can do the research for the next one coming up at 00 Aquarius, it's a lunar eclipse, and you can look at that catalogue and have a look back in time and forward in time if that one is really significant for you. You want to go and research it, right? And then there's another website called Moonblink where you can find all the eclipses as well that you want to know. So So just as an example for this one that we're still in, but 15 degrees 25 Capricorn that happened yesterday. Of course, it's on the south node. We can see the south node near there. Pluto's there, Saturn's there, and they're all grouped up around the south node. So a south node eclipse is, again, what does the past have to do with what's going on now for me? What has been in the past that, again, maybe I've forgotten to, let's say, reap the rewards from, or haven't been rewarded for? It's a Capricorn thing, right? Where does Capricorn fall in your chart? And also, what do I need to let go of in order to move on? Because what's holding me back? This is a really significant eclipse for showing that. What may be holding me back from moving forward, with the next eclipse and the cycles that happen in 2019. Really highly significant, and we'll talk about that more with Pluto and Saturn on the south node as it sort of gets closer in transits. So eclipses open doorways. They reveal things to us that maybe we haven't been aware of before, like aha moments, like big time, going, oh gosh, yeah, revelations plus in that sense. And again, meditative sort of work and intentional work around these times is very, very potent. So we can really sort of focus and connect to the meaning of them for us. Solar, of course, is new beginnings, and lunar is much more, let's say, lighting up the hidden. Okay, so lunar eclipses are about that as well. So what we want to look at that really helps to sort of define what's this eclipse, or what's this particular eclipse about for me, is what happened 19 years ago and what happened 18 years ago. So in that 18, 19 year time frame, what was happening in my life where these eclipses kind of brought out and shifted things for me? Because they're happening either at the same degree or as part of the same family of eclipses, they are still both very relevant. Okay, so that, you know, for the 19-year metonic cycle, we're looking back on the 6th of January 2000 for the meaning of this eclipse, for an extra sort of dose. And then we're looking at an eclipse that happened in December 2000, which happened at 4 degrees of Capricorn, which is 11 degrees earlier than this one. Does that make sense? You know, I mean, it might sound somewhat complicated, but once you sort of get the story, you're going to always look at eclipses that way and go, okay, I'm looking at that pattern. And of course, they don't happen, you know, 18-year cycle is really quite, you know, we only have, what, 4 or 5 in a lifetime, 5, 6 maybe, 7 if we grow over 100. Or yeah, something like that. So again, South Node eclipse that we're in at the moment, it's about work. It's about the work I do. Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, and Saturn is right there. Is my work life rewarding? Is my, you know, how is my family rewarding me for, let's say, the responsibilities that they take on? I mean, family can really be very hurtful that way. I've got something going on in my family at the moment that, you know, after the death of my father, has really erupted some really awful things to do with my siblings. As they say, you know, death and family quabbles really sort of escalate things. And yeah, things have really come to light, and stuff that we have to deal with that, you know, is not particularly pleasant, but we have to go through it. So, you know, I mean, for me at this point, it's sort of like feeling like I've got to cut off that person from my family, because it's very disruptive. It's very, and it's come back, you know, big time, whereas I've been away from it from a while, and I cut off years ago because I thought, I've got my own 3 children. I don't need to know about, you know, my brothers that are really sort of disturbing my life. And now it's come back big time, which is very much affecting my mother. So I cannot, you know, not be there responsible to help her through this as well, even though I did years ago. Anyway, it's a complicated story, but that's what's happening for me. And now when we look at these, or want to find our Saros cycle eclipses, this is just an example, and I'll show more later. But where this line is, okay, so 25th of December, as I said, that was the last time this Saros eclipse that happened yesterday, that happened at 15 Capricorn. It's called Saros 122. And it happened at 4 degrees of Capricorn on the 25th of December, the year 2000. So in order to get, let's say, make more sense of this eclipse, let's go back to the year 2000. It was Christmas Day. This is UT time, Christmas Day at 4 degrees of Capricorn. Does that sort of bring up anything to anybody, like a highlight? Again, really sort of potently connected to Christmas, family, and how has that moved on, or are we still sitting in the same stuff that we were sitting in, you know, 18 years ago, or how has that developed? And of course, 18 years is a long time, all right? So, you know, just to keep that idea. And then the next eclipse that's coming up at 0 degrees of, what did I say? It's Leo, not, no, what am I saying? Yeah, it's lunar. So it's going to be in Leo, not Aquarius. The sun will be Aquarius. And that's Chinese New Year as well, the 4th of February. As we can see, it's gone up 11 degrees from 19 degrees of Cancer. Okay, so 11 degrees plus, you know, adding 11 degrees to 19 of Cancer, we've got 0 Leo. Okay, so that just gives you an idea. And so I'm going to show you more as we go to find out your, what we call prenatal eclipse, which becomes the one that you want to know about. And I've got some examples of that. And just a little bit of a trick to remind you of how the nodes work and their timing. And this is using the mean node. I know evolutionary astrology, most of us use the true node because it's actually it actually moves much more like a dragon, like actually it's oscillating. The mean node and the true node are only about 1 and a bit degrees apart, or now I just can't remember, maybe it's 50 minutes of arc apart. But the true node jumps around a bit, so it's much more specific. But again, they're not much difference in, you know, in degrees anyway. But using the mean node, a full cycle of the transits of the nodes is 18.6 years. It takes 1.86 years for the nodes to go through one axis. It takes 18.6 degrees, sorry, the nodes move 18.6 degrees in a month and 1.86 minutes a day. So it's just a really cool way to remember that that nodal movement as well, and see how, you know, very much it's related. So it is very much a timing mechanism. Yeah, it is one of those really significant ways of timing and prediction in astrology as well, for when are those peak times and highlights of my life and so on. So with this one, I mean, like with any eclipses, you want to sort of, you know, get the axis that it's squaring and opposing. Okay, so 15 degrees of Capricorn, of course, is going to be opposite in Cancer and squaring the cardinal axis of Aries and Libra. So anything in those degrees of Aries, Libra, Cancer as well are going to be, let's say, the most challenging parts, or the ones that are going to, let's say, yeah, be much more challenging for you. And looking at this, you know, this cross, you know, this could be an angle, this could be your descendant here, or your ascendant, or your MC, or your Venus, or your nodes, or whatever. So it's all going to be bringing that into focus. With eclipses, I know we can use really quite big orbs for eclipses, you know, up to 10 degrees, or for any aspects really, we can be using quite big orbs. I tend to narrow orbs down for eclipses because, you know, guess what? Eclipses, there are going to be eclipses that are going to be a lot tighter on a particular, you know, aspect in your chart. So that, you know, you're going to find eclipses in your life that are, you know, let's say your sun is at 26 of Capricorn. There are going to be eclipses that are going to be right on 26 Capricorn. And you want to find those as well, even though this Capricorn eclipse season is very big for you. When was it, like, very, very close to my sun or my Venus or my ascendant? Okay, that type of thing. So really that axis point, I mean, the more we do astrology, we kind of do that just by eye, don't we? We kind of know, okay, what's opposite and what's square and what's coming up. So you know, there are many ways and aspects to be looking at it. We're not just looking at one particular part of it. Yeah, so which ones have been, you know, the closest in your lifetime? Okay, now I'm going to get back to the eclipses. Let me just field some questions, you know, get back to some of the questions we have coming through here. Oh, there's people saying sorry. Yeah, it happened just on the 4th of December. So the last Venus retrograde really was opposite my Venus. The actual star point of the retrograde was opposite my Venus. And yeah, it was pretty potent. And I'm actually 54. So I turned 55 in March. So it's been, you know, as many astrologers have told me before, 54 is the big year. It's been a big highlight career-wise for me as well. But also, you know, there's always many levels of it. You can't just always look for the bad things, you know, for when eclipses are coming, you want to look for the highlights as well. You know, eclipses have got that you know, that sort of attention to them, that they're, you know, oh, they're scary and what's going to happen to me. I really don't want you to be thinking that way. What's going to happen to me? Like, really sit in the chart and you know, what does 15 Capricorn mean to me? Where is it in my chart? If it's in my 9th house or my 5th house, or, you know, what am I being sort of urged to evolve through here. Okay, what am I being, you know, again, some of us will be feeling it more than others, but what we want to know is that something's happening anyway, but I don't want you to be looking for bad things. Do you know what I mean? I don't want you to be looking, oh my God, something bad should be happening to me. No, something is happening, but it is, you know, it's breakthrough things, and some things won't be clear until this eclipse cycle is over. And maybe even this eclipse cycles in Cancer and Capricorn will be over, which will be more towards the end of the next year, and as the next kind of round come in. Okay, so you know, don't look for them, sit with them, move with them. That's my advice, because again, as an astrologer, people are saying, what's happening to me? The eclipse is on my sun. Well, what is happening to you? You answer that yourself. You know, yes, I'm being challenged to do this, or this is happening in my life, and that's how we learn. Okay. The numerology is amazing. Yes, the numbers of astrology just generally, and how they come together, the sacred geometry of it all makes you really kind of think about, or just very much respond to, and the more that you do it, responding to the magic that is in there, you know, like these eternal cycles that we're part of and how they affect us, and being much more in tune with that, we get much more into a rhythm, and we don't become scared of eclipses anymore. Right? It's like we get this attitude, I think, the longer that we do it, of you know, going with the flow, taking life as it comes up with its lessons for us. Okay, so what lessons are being sort of thrust in your face at the moment, because it's a Saturn conjunct eclipse, right? What lessons have you learnt in the last couple of weeks? All right, about whatever versions, you know, there's so many. Noah says, what would you say about the Leo conjuncts the ascendant, the Leo eclipse to conjunct the ascendant? Well, again, what challenges are coming up for you as the 0 Leo, you know, moon hovers around your ascendant for the eclipse? Again, look back 18 years ago, look back 19 years ago. What did that bring up for you? And then on the ascendant, of course, an eclipse is the attitude to yourself. Okay, I need to respond to this very moony energy, eclipse energy on my ascendant. Do I like myself how I am at the moment? Do I need to change something about my attitude or my impulse or my way of going into life? The ascendant is very much about that sort of springing into the next thing or a new beginning. Okay, very much a new beginning, like what new habits would be good for me right now to sort of implement. And you'd know already, like, those things aren't working so much for me. Or the ascendant very much picks up the descendant as well, like, you know, who's coming at me to really show me what I may need to change about myself. Yeah. Or yeah, again, how much do I like myself? How much do I love myself? It's Leo. So Leo ascendants are always going to be very aware of that. Like, I need to be loved. I need to be liked. I need to be seen as a creative spirit. And, you know, is there anything that's hampering that at the moment? That could be, you know, really coming to the fore from that sets you off into another sort of trajectory of that as well, right? Good, you think you're feeling it for sure. Yes. Okay, now I'm just going to go back to a few here. Fanny's asking, I don't know where to post the question. Transiting Pluto squares my Pluto. No question for this. I understand the 4 phases. Okay, but in addition to that, transiting Pluto conjuncts my natal Mars at 22 Capricorn. Okay, so that's a big, you know, there's a big thing happening, because this is like where Pluto and the South Node are going to meet as well. And then all the 2020 action happening, you know, over the next year, and into 2020, of course. It's happening in the 12th house. Your ascendant is 25 Capricorn, so it's all there. What should I be careful of or pay attention with this Pluto or Mars? Okay, so Pluto, Mars, 12th house, near the ascendant, power games. What kind of, don't have to be games, but, you know, I'd say things that are coming up in your life where you either would be wanting to utilize the situations that are coming to you to empower yourself as opposed to disempower yourself. Okay, is there anyone sort of threatening in your life at the moment? Or, you know, Pluto Mars is like a threatening experience, like, oh, I've got to keep myself together, or I've got to fight back somehow, right? So is there anything in your life that's happening like that now? I mean, it could be kind of, in a sense, 12th house type of thing is threatened by, I mean, that's a big word, but you know what I mean. It's almost like feeling insecure, unsafe in the world, just at large, not knowing I'm not sure if you live in the USA, not knowing what's happening, you know, with the economy, not knowing what's, you know, security, all that kind of stuff. What kind of things are coming up for you, Fanny? I'd like to, you know, kind of, if you can type back, that would be cool. So it's almost, you know, with Mars involved, you need to sort of, it's like, where can I find more sort of power by taking action somehow? Oh, okay. So Fanny's saying, so I should fight back. I need to find a job and change life. There you go. You need to fight for yourself. You can't just kind of, in a sense, Mars is really, you know, it's the warrior that fights for you. And Pluto's, you know, Pluto in the South Node is like, think of the times that you've had to fight for yourself before and how, you know, you've gotten through there. I mean, Mars in the 12th house to start with is one that doesn't like fighting. So when I say fighting, I don't want to make, you know, it's not like about going out there and being aggressive and stuff. That's a you know, a negative version of Mars, and we all kind of have that come out here and there. As we mature, we get better at that. But yeah, find a job and change life. So I think you know, what you want to fight for is a job, like we all say, is meaningful, has perhaps something to do with changing the system. With Capricorn, yeah, the Pluto South Node there. You know, think about, you know, is there something that really drives you? Because Mars is about passion, right? Mars is also about passion and desire. So what desires are coming up? What you really go with that? Like, what we always say, that the best careers that we can have, or finding jobs that are fulfilling and all that type of thing, are the ones that have passion and desire behind them somehow. So I think that's what you're, you know, what's being sort of pulled out of you at this time. And again, if it's not so clear, you know, you can't push things. You can't push things and sort of say, I'm going to sit with this until it clears up in my head. You've got to give it time. You come back to it every day, right? You come back to it every week. Astrology, I've always said, is like fractal. Any point that you look at, one day you're going to read this and it's going to make more sense and open up the box. Another day you're going to add to it and it's going to open up another trajectory in a fractal, you know, kind of image that says, oh, now that makes more sense. And it never stops. So make sure that you don't make your astrology just concrete, like Mars, Pluto means that. Pluto transits have an incredible level of experience, from the very, very sort of profound and deep and, let's say, confronting, to the most amazing and empowering. So, you know, all of these levels can be happening in a sense at the same time. So, you know, as astrologers, we say, what's going to happen with this Pluto transit? Well, you can't just say it's one thing. Okay, you can't say it's one thing. It's going to be so many different levels of that you're going to be uncovering and peeling it like an onion. So to you, Fanny, you're unpeeling and uncovering this Pluto South Node Mars transit all the time. Okay, so what comes up to you, maybe even kind of journal, I'm feeling this. Pluto is very feeling like, although it's, you know, because it's kind of the ruler of Scorpio in the modern sense, so it brings up a lot of things and it transforms the way things can be done. So allow that to happen. Allow the process, and don't feel scared or frightened about it. Allow the process, and from that you are going to become, you know, singularly much more profoundly powerful in your own self. Okay. Yeah, good. Amazing things are rising, but I need to allow the process. Okay, well, then we'll get on to the other thing with Jupiter Jupiter Neptune aspect that is really sort of culminating and getting much closer, and also Uranus direct right now, or in the next few hours or something as well. Ewan is asking, would that be similar to Pluto-Saturn Sun transiting my second house, and also Sun square Pluto? So the transiting Sun square Pluto. Okay, so you're adding, hang on, let me just see, Sun transiting. Okay, so let's take what I've just been saying for Fanny from the 12th house into the second house. So everything that I've said about the 12th house there, it's much more sort of connecting to the unconscious, bringing it up and making it conscious. In the second house, it's very, very relevant to what you're earning, money, security, in the sense of, you know, how much do I need, and have I got enough? You know, am I getting paid enough? All those things that set off the you know, maybe you're undervaluing yourself with what you're getting paid, or what you think you could be earning. It's that kind of stuff, because Pluto again represents the empowerment of one. So second house is like, I want to feel more empowered, perhaps with what I can earn, what I provide, and my resources. And perhaps there's a lot more resources there that you're not utilizing somehow. Noah again, Julia, what's your perspective on North Node in Cancer transiting the 12th house? Okay, so if a node, the North Node is going to transit your 12th, it means it's just been on your ascendant. Okay, so as the nodes go backwards in the zodiac, it's been on your ascendant, it's going into the 12th house, or maybe it was on your ascendant last year. So from that sort of, you know, first house ascendant transit of it all, we're moving into the 12th house, where we really want to again have more faith, have more trust in what's going on. Perhaps it's not about losing control, but it's not and again, it's Cancer now, so it's like utilizing and going forth with more feeling, as opposed to more control, which is happening in the 6th house and Capricorn, and all the things being in order. Let it open up. Go on, you know, go on journeys, like mind journeys, go on spirit journeys, to open up the heart, right? To open the heart more, because those changes around the ascendant you already felt. So I need to sort of, let's say, go places I haven't been before to experience and bring back. It's like going off to journeys into the divine or the spirit world, and bringing back some divine guidance. That's how I'd be looking at that. Now let me read the Q&As down here. All right. Carol's asked, my natal sun is in Capricorn and in the 11th house. Right. So Carol, you'd be feeling things like the 11th house, friends, groups, goals, dream, you know, conscious dreams, I'd call the 11th house as well. So, you know, what's going on there for you? What of this eclipse is challenging you to take responsibility for your goals? You know, again, South Nodal eclipse, what have I forgotten about one of my goals? Yeah, I always wanted to do this, and I'm actually good at that, but I've put it aside, and I don't know, I never did it again. You want to kind of bring back that kind of thing. Or maybe there's something that you left behind that you did love, or maybe there's something that you're doing that you need to like go, that's actually taking up a whole lot of time. It's really messing with where I want to go. Okay, I'd be kind of consciously looking at that. Edra, my North Node is 17 Cap. How does that affect when the eclipse is on the South Node? Yeah, again, you know, I don't know what house that is in, but so again, we're going back into cycles. I'd like you to look back at 18 and 19 years ago, Edra, and what was happening in your life then that perhaps needed or was let go of, or something new began. And again, it's a south nodal thing. What have I forgotten to do? What have I, there's a lot of stuff in there that maybe I've just kind of forgotten about, or been too scared to, some of this stuff might just come back and be raised again by different people in your life, family, or something like that, or career. What if an eclipse falls on your 54th birthday? Well, that means you were actually born in an eclipse as well. Were you, Mary? Or very close to an eclipse? Hang on. Yes, because there'd be a metonic cycle that connects to it, but no, because it's the 11 days before. Okay, so that becomes much more significant. Sorry for confusing you. But, well, just have a think about it. An eclipse on your birthday. This is a really potent, because it's your solar return. So your solar return chart becomes like, uber significant, okay, to think about. But then I'd say that an eclipse happened actually, sort of in the past as well. And I'd be wanting to look at any birthdays in the past that have had eclipses on them as well. What would you say about the Leo conjunction? I talked about that one. Did you say that one of the 24 degrees Capricorn, as I have Saturn and Jupiter conjunct? Yeah, so that's the one coming up in July. I think mid-July or something, there's a 24-degree Capricorn eclipse. So happening on Saturn and Jupiter. Born with a Saturn-Jupiter conjunction in Capricorn is someone that's always, let's say, challenged to go ahead and then take 2 steps back. Go ahead, take 2 steps back. So it's kind of slow progress. It's not someone that's really sort of jumping out to experience and letting go, but it needs to, that's your way of operating. And that's, it's all fine. Astrology is all fine. Any astrology anyone's got is all good. We can work with it. So recognizing that in yourself, and an eclipse happening on that is like, how am I going forward, and where, because you're not the type to actually leap forward without some kind of structure. So it's highlighting that. How am I leaping forward, and how am I, before sort of going off the deep end, I need this and this in place. So it's a highlight of that, all right? This eclipse begins in my 12th house, 12 degrees Capricorn, also on my Neptune and contacting Lilith, Pluto, Moon. Some of these are hard to sort of decipher without a chart. So 12th house, 12 degrees. So you heard about what I said about the 12th house, but yours is in the 12th house is in Capricorn, not Cancer. So we're reversing that. So, Capricorn in the 12th house is getting a lesson of perhaps, again, where am I being too controlling or trying to control everything in my life, and perhaps giving it that 12th house flavor to, or perhaps it's the other way around and you're not in control of things and things are just happening to you where you need to take control, right? So which one of those is it? And it could be any. This is the whole thing about astrology. Until I know more about the chart, I will say it's either or, okay? Sorry, 14 degrees. Okay, 14 degrees. Yeah, right on there. Does that make sense, Sarah? How do you calculate? Okay, we're going to get into how to calculate Saros for your own life. I'm Sun Capricorn rising, turn 53, and eclipse on my birthday, on the one that just happened. Okay, so you're going to be coming into your eclipses. So you just turned 53. So the ones that will be happening in July are most possibly the eclipses that you were born into. Okay, so with the Saros cycles, we're looking at the lunar eclipse and the solar eclipse before your birth. Okay, so if you were born in January and you just turned 53, those eclipses are very likely to be July, the year before you were born. Okay, and they'll be coming into fruition in July. Okay. Um, what are your thoughts on eclipses on one's natal sun? I'm a 0-degree Leo. Again, look back 19 years ago, look back 18 years ago. You've had an eclipse on your sun before, and what was happening in that time frame that really kind of will highlight what was going on for you. It will be a similar story. And you have evolved from there, of course, and, you know, maybe that's when you were 18 and now you're 36 or whatever. You've matured, you've grown, so not everything's going to be the same. But it's a confrontation of life and purpose and joy. If it's in Leo, you know, am I having fun doing this? How am I, you know, like, again, the sun is solar purpose. It's about who we are becoming and what we're here for to do. So an eclipse on your sun is a real highlight to, you know, is this my calling? Am I really kind of doing that? And you know, I mean, it's not about all of a sudden you're going to change and go, that's wrong. For some people it might be, but it's developing further into that. Okay, I'm going to add this to it because I want to go there. The North Node, the Sun are very, very connected in the sense of we have to go through the North Node or our own North Node to find our Sun, and it's a never-ending journey. Okay, so we always say that in astrology, it's a never-ending journey, the North Nodal experience and the Sun experience, because we're forever, like Rahu, eating eating into the future or developing ourselves. We can never stop. If we ever think we're perfect, we've got the perfect life, like who's got that? Never, ever. So it's that kind of thing that comes up, all right? Now, where am I? So a few questions on the thing. Okay. Hi, Debbie Mendra. I'm just catching in onto the Facebook page. But let me, so anyway, a few ideas there for everyone in regard to, you know, what we're looking for, you know, for eclipses. And again, if you're learning astrology, you want to actually, yeah, you've got to start off with cookbook stuff, but, you know, the more you're going to learn more by exploring. If you know the archetypes well, go into the journey, explore, and it's going to tell you so much, right? Okay, I'm going to move on now, and we're going to get back to, okay, how to find these Saros and stuff in a sec, but I just want to go through a few more of the big aspects that, you know, are happening so that you can kind of adapt them to your chart. So Jupiter square Neptune, it's very prominent in these eclipses because they're going to be exact on January the 13th at 14 degrees of Sag and Pisces, and June the 16th. So it's kind of every, you know, what, 5 months or something, and then 3 months. 13 degrees of Sag Pisces mutable, 18 degrees Sag Pisces mutable, and 16 degrees. So we've got this kind of zone of, you know, between 12 and 18 degrees or 11 and 18 degrees of the mutable signs that are being targeted by Sag and Pisces. I mean, by Jupiter and Neptune in Sagittarius and Pisces. So, you know, looking at Jupiter, we know that Jupiter represents the truth that we live. It's not just the truth that we know, but I think with Jupiter, it's very much the truth that we live. So it's like, you know, do as you say, and, you know, all that type of thing. Walk your talk. And often with Jupiter transits, we know it's the great benefic and it brings good things, but Jupiter transits can be so overwhelming because they put you on the spot. They put you on the spot to actually live your truth, show your truth. Like, I believe that, but I'm actually acting like this. Or I'm still doing that. And so Jupiter transits adapt us to live that truthful reality, okay? And really look at yourself and go, am I living my truth? So for that reason of expansion, growth, and living the wisdom that we're constantly taking in as information. I remember doing this when I started the CIA. It's a very Jupiterian thing, but you know, talking about being intentional and intention, let's say global intention missions and all that kind of stuff. And I sort of had to question myself, hang on, Jules, you've got to do that too, though. You know, it's not enough for me to speak about it and write about it and stuff. I actually have to do it. And Jupiter is the one that is, you know, was known in mythology and stuff to set up altars and to be the priest in nature. His altar was nature, to be, you know, that great benefic that responded to all of that. So how are we responding to it, and how are we actually doing it? It can't be all up in our heads. That's a Gemini thing. Jupiter rules Sagittarius. It's Sagittarius loves nature. It's got to be in the world, right? And then Neptune, of course. So beliefs is Jupiter, and Neptune is faith. Yeah, Neptune is about having faith in the unknown. Like, we're never going to know everything, right? So we're never going to, you know, find the secret to that. That's a lure that will, you know, forever sort of lure us that way, or whatever it is. And recognizing that that is a part of this world, of our experience. And so the square, putting the two together there, you know, is that test for that. Okay, am I trying to, again, maybe perhaps be too controlling about that? Am I living my truth? Am I having faith in the future? Because we do know that so much what goes on in our minds and what we intend to do and make happen will only happen if we believe in it, right? If we have doubts, we're not going to, it's not going to manifest, right? I'm reading this book at the moment by Dean Radin, a scientist from, and it's called Real Magic. And the, you know, the big thing also, like the biology of belief and all that type of thing, if we don't believe it, it's not going to happen. And we have to have faith in things as well, in the unknown, to go there. Otherwise it's scary, right? Saturn sort of takes us back. And Sagittarius and Pisces have, you know, these two are the most expansive signs. These are two signs that have no boundaries. Sagittarius, the most universal sign, the one that shoots the arrow out into the universe and goes, what's out there, right? It's telling us to go more out there, to look further, to go beyond, right? And then Pisces is that endless stream that keeps changing, and it's never the same every time you look. Again, maybe like a fractal, it's never the same. Right? And so living that life experience, that's our test. And I think it's a really good test for 2019, because we don't really know what all this 2020 stuff, we have an idea of what it's about, and the disintegration of the systems that we're in, which has been happening for a long time. It's just a culmination point, 2020. But we have to have faith that we are doing better things, that astrology is waking up the world, all kinds of stuff like that, right? And so where have you got not enough faith is going to be showing up at these degrees, okay? And I think it's a really good timing as well, because we've got all this Capricorn that makes this doubt, let's say, much more real. You know, the doubt, perhaps it's doubt, but manifesting that. So what's manifesting in our lives is showing through these type of scenarios, okay? How we're not letting go of things, or how we always expected life to be this way, and hey, I'm 55 now and I'm, you know, I'm not happy with this or that. So, you know, again, really questioning the things about what we expect from life and what we've got and what we're doing with it, okay? Yeah, so they're both, you know, Neptune in Pisces in its rulership, and so Jupiter in Sagittarius. So it's a strong time for this too. And it's the last part of the cycle, the last square that they have until they meet again, as this cycle will come together again in a few years. So beliefs and faith need an update. That's how I see this square. From everything that we've learned since the cycle started back in, I think it's 2008, have we updated? Have we, you know, again, if we believe in magic, have we updated our lives to that, right? If we believe in astrology, or if we've been working with astrology, do we believe it yet? Or are we still waiting for proof? And for some of us, of course, it's going to be all different sort of levels and timings and all that. So it's a combination of the known and the unknown. So again, the truth that we've grasped, the wisdom that we've grasped, and where we're going to go with that, right? And forgotten dreams, all that kind of thing. You know, remember when you were like this. And, you know, again, memories surging up, all that type of thing. Neptune is very good for that as well. And I really think it's like, don't give up on the next impossible step, because when we look back at what impossible steps we've taken before, we can go, wow. And this is the thing about the Saturn, South Node, Pluto and Capricorn, either preventing this or actually making it much more stable to, let's say, live the dream or have, you know, much more purposeful and joyful life. So yeah, it's a closing square, and the average cycle is 13 years. So the last time they were together was 27 Capricorn in 2009, and the cycle comes back in 2022. I haven't got the degrees. I also do 26 Aquarius and 0 Capricorn. So again, the ending of, you know, the last 3 years of this cycle. So it's the last challenge to sort of say, okay, I've got to get rid of that belief, because that no longer serves me and in my time and in my world now. And it will maybe take 3 years before that cycle starts, because we're going into that balsamic phase of the cycle finishing. Another big thing happening this year is a Saturn sextile Neptune. So again, this is what I was saying about, you know, the real manifestation of this. Water and earth have got a really great ability to you know, getting our feelings, as we say in the world of magic, our feelings are very much behind what manifests in our world, right? So if we don't have an attraction to it and a feeling and a desire and a passion, probably won't happen. So, and Saturn backs that up now with the Neptune. All right, so the possibility of manifestation of what we want, or get better at it. Of course, I don't really believe you can have it like this. You've got to work on it. Saturn's involved too. So there's a great ability for that. And yeah, they're going to be sextile from the 15 degrees, 8 and 18 degrees and 16 degrees of the signs, Capricorn and Pisces. And watch for, yeah, the earth and water combination. And also Mercury's cycle is actually, all the retrogrades are going to be in water signs, meaning all the outer conjunctions, the other star points of Mercury on its outer conjunction are in earth. So we've got the water earth combination. So what are you building? Are you making mud, or are you sculpting something really quite significant? So that's a really great image to sort of look at and work with. Saturn on the South Node, we know how potent that is. And if we want to look back at what this meaning for Saturn on the South Node would be, let's have a look back at the last time it was there, and that was 2002, and it happened in 14 Sagittarius, and the time before was 1985-86 at 5 Scorpio. So it goes back in signs, you know, over time. So for those of us that are old enough, and looking back at that cycle, I went, okay, I'm doing the research. What happened when Pluto was on the South Node for me last time? In 85 is when I met my husband, and he was opposite my Venus. So that was a really significant one. Is this one, you know, now at 22 Capricorn as significant for me? Well, it's on the CIA ascendant, so yes. So anyway, you'll always find something, but what's it bring up for you? It's a really potent time for getting on with it, eliminating what's not working. Saturn, Pluto. It's eliminating the dross and transforming with what I just talked about, Saturn, Jupiter and Neptune all playing part in the role of being able to, let's say, consolidate the next kind of big steps and letting go of a lot of crap. I think the world, the world is needing to let go of a lot of crap, believe in a better future and make that future happen. And we're all doing it, actually. We're all doing it. We're just kind of, what's the word? Believing it a bit more. Hang on, where am I going? So what happened last time? The Pluto in the North Node is the half cycle points. You can also look at that. So Pluto on the North Node was in 2010 at 4 Capricorn. Again, 4 Capricorn keeps coming up big time in this year. And now Saturn on the South Node. Saturn, time, karma, fears, conditioning. Saturn is all about the conditioning that we've had, and Pluto, the evolutionary aspects of where we are on the planet and the inevitable shifts and changes that we're going through. And that happens all the time. In the end, that happens all the time, doesn't it? So we can't, you know, again, it's on the South Node. So what's the world getting rid of? And there's a lot going to be erupting and happening a lot more with that as we go. Saturn and the word conditioning is very, very strong. And I think it's also, again, how our societies have been built and what we're being conditioned to think that this is the way it should be, okay? The shoulds, the coulds, and the woulds to me are all Saturn. And, you know, just ask yourself those things. You know, I should be doing this, so why am I not? I could be doing this, so why am I not? And I would be doing this if it wasn't for this or that. And we tend to cast sort of blame and, you know, put it on to everything else that we can't get out of. And there's something that can, you know, we can really learn from that, and the way that we actually attend to that and our attitude to that and how helpful that is as well. So South Node Capricorn, North Node Cancer. As I was saying, the sun's very much attached to the Rahu energy, okay, the North Node, and the gobbling up of experience and going forward, and then letting it out via the moon and Ketu, the dragon's tail, to lighten up so we can fly better, right? So it's kind of like, that's a really good image too. It's like what we're gobbling up and what we have to keep letting it out so we can stay buoyant in a sense, right? But we've got that opposition of the nodes now, where Cancer, which is moon ruled, is actually on Rahu, right? And so what we're looking at is like, how can I make my life more, let's say, soulful? Go back to the soul as opposed to all the conditions that we think we should be living in. Or again, what society tells us we should be doing because we're 30 or because we're 25 or we've just left school or we've just become a mother and mothers shouldn't do this, or I don't know. You know, again, we've got the Jupiter. It tells us our truth and how to live it. Yeah, conditioning from the patriarchy, fathers, parents, schooling, society. So yeah, rules of family, rules of circumstances, the reason for the upkeep have changed big time, and have I adapted my life to that is another thing. South Nodal, have I adapted to what I actually think and believe and know the world should be doing, and be an example of that? So yeah, and also work, career versus home, family. And there's always a thing to know, the kids will be all right. I mean, some kids aren't all right, but you know, those fears of like guilt, the guilt that overtakes us with Saturn. If I don't do that, they'll hate this and they'll be left alone. But if you just inch it away from it a bit, it's amazing how surprisingly it's not as hard as you think every time you go into a Saturn sort of experience and transit and get better at it, right? I love this. I saw it this morning. When I was 16, I used to admire people with luxuries. Now I admire people with inner peace. So yeah, again, Capricorn, what are we aspiring to? Yeah, okay, we need a new car, we need a new deck, we need this or that. It all becomes very monetary and physical and all that kind of stuff. But you know what? When we do get more at peace with what's going on and being very much connected to our lives and what's happening, those things kind of fall by the wayside, and in a sense, then that sort of universal energy of providing for yourself becomes very fluid. But you have to go through that to actually experience that, and to tell someone that's in a financial, let's say, dilemma or whatever, it's not so easy or nice to do that, and I don't want to be doing that. But there is a way of, let's say, finding a different attitude again to that kind of thing. what it means to be a success in the world, or what it means to have a career, and how much money should I earn to be successful, or how many likes should I have to be a successful astrologer, you know, all that kind of stuff. You've got to let it go by the wayside, because that competitiveness will drive you crazy, especially in the astrology world, I reckon, anyway. And I've been teaching myself to sort of keep away from it, and, you know, kind of, whereas, you know, 10 years ago, it was a different story. It was like, whoa, 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 you wanted to know everything and what everyone was doing and stuff. But now I find it actually, it's kind of like I need to put blinkers on, because it's such a distraction to what I'm doing. And I don't want to know. I don't mean it like, well, in a sense, it's true. So I can get on with my thing, you know, my thing. Anyway, this is now an example of what the Saros returns are happening with from September 11th, because September 11th happened in 2001. And so 18 years ago, coming the July eclipses, and there was one of you that is the same age, well, in the same sort of Saros series of eclipses, that are coming up for September 11th. And anyway, I don't know how true this is at the bottom now, but there's going to be a jury against the evidence of the controlled demolition of 9/11. So, you know, that's significant. It hasn't happened in all this time. And you sort of think, if this is evidence of what happened back then, why is anything being done about it? It's the same thing as Trump, you know, with all the things the rules that he's broken and what he's done. What is he still doing there? What kind of a system is this if nothing can be done about it? Right? And that's the reality of this South Node, Pluto on the South Node, Saturn. The reality of, seriously, something's got to give here in order for more justice and all that kind of stuff to be happening in this world, and in the world of fake news and stuff. And again, you don't know what's true until you have to research so much more these days to find out if some kind of link is actually the real deal or whatever. Anyway, I'm going to move on from that. Other main transits I'm not going to get into, but things that you might want to look into, and I'm sure others in the community are going to go into Uranus in Taurus again, Chiron in Aries. I've got a lot of information about that I might do for the community when it's my turn again. Really interesting information about being that sort of, you know, warrior of self that can just get on with things. So there's quite a few things in this year that really kind of signify manifesting, getting on with it. The Venus peaks at 21 Leo and Mars peaks at 9 Virgo, and the Mercury retrogrades, this is what they look like. 3 cycles in Pisces, Cancer and Scorpio, and then the outer points that, as I said, are going to be happening in Earth. So we've got that beautiful Mercury cycle that is in Earth and water, which is again very much able to let our thoughts rise from our emotions, like you know, again, what we feel becomes what's happening in our lives. So be very conscious of that. Let them rise and be much more creative about that kind of thing, and then be responsible for, perhaps a bit more responsible. Again, I see all that Capricorn as like that. All right. How are we going for time? Okay, I want to do the examples now, because that also, so stop share. I'm going to go back to another one. I'm going to go to my chart. So I hope you've been getting a lot of info out of that, everyone. You can see that chart. Just check there. Okay, so this is now the chart for right here, right now in Melbourne. And when's Uranus go? Oh, it's actually gone direct as we've been speaking. How cool is that? Or as I've been speaking. Oh no, it went direct earlier, sorry. It's already direct, yay. Okay, so look, I'm going to look into, oh, hang on, cancel, sorry. Recently used Mandy's chart, who was going to be online, but she's she couldn't make it, but she's actually a really good example of what's going on at the moment as well, because as we'll see, I'm going to put the transits on. So this is the eclipse, of course, so I'm kind of concentrating on that. Everything else will come to fore. So Mandy was saying, you know, as we had a quick chat on Facebook before, that, you know, I was sort of asking her what's happening in her life, and she said, oh, I can't make the lecture because I'm going to do an astrology talk in my yoga class, or for a yoga group or whatever, that she's only done now for the second time. So she's been studying astrology for 5 years, and she's coming into, let's say, very nervous and very excited for, you know, beginning to sort of, let's say, teach astrology. Now have a look at her chart. First of all, we've got Jupiter, Uranus, Mercury in Sagittarius on the South Node, or near the South Node in the 5th house. Do you think she is made for teaching? She's having a Jupiter return as we speak, and very much, you know, connected to her nodes at the moment. So it's almost like, you know, the timing is amazing when, you know, we start astrology or whatever, and then we start putting it out there. So, you know, for Mandy, I'd say she's very much more, you know, there's going to be let's say, much more creative way of and the way that she's going to be doing it, you know, down the track, perhaps because it's the 5th house. Perhaps she'll end up sort of teaching children as well, or younger people, or something like that, again associated with the 5th house. The eclipse is happening in her 6th, and the eclipse cycles then are going to be targeting her 7th house, and the 0 Leo 1, you know, from the 1st house to the 7th axis. Very much when there's things happening on the descendant, you're being pulled out into the world, right? You're being pulled out and say, show your stuff. Show your stuff, you know, it's not just internalize it, show your stuff, put it out there. So, you know, it's a really great experience, you know, great example of that for Mandy. And also the nodes, of course, are moving over her ascendant and descendant axis. And she's a mother of 2, and she's just recently gone back into work. Her children are quite young still, 7 and 10, I think, and she's recently gone back to, you know, let's say to have time to do other things as well. So, you know, look at that, how significant, you know, that is for her. Looking at the Jupiter and Neptune square that's going on. Neptune's right at the end, like you can't see the yellow lines in Astro Gold here, which I have to tell them to darken these lines, I think, for house cusps. But, you know, Neptune's very much riding on the edge of the 8th house, 9th house in the Porphyry system. So, you know, she's right on the edge of beginning, you know, anew, and then Neptune's going to meet her moon that's a few years away still. But that sort of confidence that's pushing out, yes, I want to do this, yes, I will do this. You know, I suppose the dream's taking off, you know, for Mandy, there is a dream to be, look, the moon's in the 9th house as well. There's a lot of Sagittarius. There's a signature of using astrology to, let's say, help guide, heal, and be very soulfully connected to the astrology that she will teach. Being a Cancer rising, you know, it's about helping people as well. But, you know, with an Aries midheaven, and the Mars kind of also up there pushing at the moment, you know, perhaps she'll be, you know, more of a leader as opposed to a follower as well. Again, developing her own sort of system, idea, or way of, let's say, teaching and doing astrology as well. So, of course, I mean, her moon natally squares her nodes, and now they're being targeted by Neptune and Jupiter, which is so cool, because it's like here it is now. There's a dream forming, or the next part of your life and journey, you know, to take this on as a Scorpio sun. Was there something else I was going to say about that? Yes, there was. Okay. Now, Mandy's a really good example as well, because she's born in 83. So coming up in June and July, she's actually got her prenatal eclipse Saros's returning as well, meaning that in July this year, I'm going to show you how we do this. the eclipses that she was born into, let's say, are the ones that as I said, happened before your birth. So when I look into her birthday of November 1983, and an ephemeris is always a good thing to have, or you can find ephemerises online. You can find eclipses in an ephemeris. So, of course, the first thing I do is, okay, the solar eclipse before her birth was 19 Gemini, and the lunar eclipse before her birth was 3 Capricorn. So, you know, as we know, this is where her nodes are, so they're not going to be too far away, although 3 Capricorn is hang on, it's over here. And 19 Gemini is, of course, near her north node. So they're going to be around, you know, your prenatal solar and lunar eclipses are going to be around your nodes. But why is it important to know? Because let's say the solar eclipse, at 19 Gemini, has moved 11 degrees when she was 18 years old. It actually had moved to 0 Cancer, okay? And then this one that is going to be on the 2nd of July is going to be at 10 Cancer, or it's nearly 11 degrees of Cancer. So she's just had 3 rounds, like the one she was born with, 19 degrees. There was one that happened at what did I say, of that same series, every 18 years and 11 days. So you can easily count 18 years plus 11 days, and which makes the sun move another 11 degrees on from that eclipse point. So anyway, I want to see you all go back home now, or you probably are at home, but do those things. But anyway, I'm going to show you a bit more. So when I look at her chart, I'm going to stop share. Now I've got to go into my solar fire, which is, sorry, is it not showing up? It's not going to be fun. Oh, I know, desktop, share. All right, I want you to tell me, hang on, if you can see this. Can you see my windows here? Now I've got solar fire on. Oh, hang on, what's going on? I'm hoping you can see this, my solar fire. I'm just checking that I can see it over there. Yes, I think you can. All right. How many of you have solar fire? If you don't, again, this is a little bit tricky, but if you find your prenatal eclipses, so the ones that happen before your birth, it means that you know these eclipses happen when you were in utero. Okay, unless you were born right on an eclipse, then you'd probably use those as well and look at those. I mean, this is work that you do, like consultations where you do the work for someone and show them their eclipse times. But I want you to, use this to look back into your life and really look at the eclipses that have been most significant for yourself. So in solar fire, for some of you, you'd have it. What I do to find eclipses is go to eclipse search up here, and I go to eclipse search, and I'm hoping that shows up too now. I think it would. And you can see these little graphs up here that say eclipse types and eclipse aspects. Now, if I'm looking at 1983, because that's the year she was born in November, so I can pretty much put my dates of eclipse searching. I want to find all eclipses, and I'm going to go to I'll go to November 1982. So I've gone, the year ahead pretty much before she was born. So I'm going to put in 82, and I'm going to put in I'll put the 1st of December 1983. So I've got a year of eclipses that are going to be searched. And I can look at that for any year, okay? And what I've got is, so she was born in November, and the eclipses before her birth were the 25th of June, as I was saying, at 3 Capricorn, and the 11th of June at 19 Gemini. So these are Saros 127 and 139, and they're the ones that are important for her. So that every 18 years and 11 days from these eclipses in 83 are going to be her family of eclipses. And so again, as Mandy's going into this, let's say, new stage of her life, this is very important for her, let's say, her solar being, her career, her, what she wants to do passionately in her life. Like, she's already a mother. She lost a husband a few years ago. She has got a new partner. I'm not sure if it's a husband or whatever. And I did ask her, do people around you, let's say, acknowledge that you're an astrologer and what you're doing? She goes, the family's fine, because I was always the weird one. And as we talk about Jupiter square Neptune on her nodes and on her moon, there's going to be quite a significant, let's say, points of her life coming up now, and on her descendant. Remember, the eclipses are on her descendant, to show that, let's say, sticking up for herself, because people will come up. You're going to get asked questions as you become a teacher. You're going to be asked questions by people to say, well, I've got this and this and that, and this doesn't happen to me as it's told in the book. And you've got to come up with answers. You've got to come up with ways, and this is the real test. Like, what do you know and what do you don't know? Again, as astrologers, we don't know everything. We're explorers. We keep adapting. We keep going. We're guides. Yes, we're guiding people. And I suppose it's the admission also of the things that we still, don't know, and still would say, oh, I have to research that. Like, I can't tell you off the cuff of my head right now what that answer is. I see that as Jupiter, Neptune also sort of very much standing out for her. Now, having shown you that, some of you may not have solar fire, but I know it's not the easiest thing, but it's not that hard either to find out the eclipses that happened before your birth, and then looking at when you were 18, they happened again, when they were 36, and when they were 54. Just want you to do those basic, exercises for now, right? Hang on, now I just want another chart that I'm going to do, and that is here as well. And for some of you, again, if you become wanting to be serious astrologers, I know this is Astro Gold that I use here, but it won't do eclipse cycles. But you can easily animate charts. Like if it was Mandy here again, I could just animate her chart, look in my ephemeris, or look online when eclipses happened in 83, right? And then go back to those dates and look at the chart and go, okay, that's part of Saros, 127, or that's Saros so-and-so, and they're the eclipses I want to know. And just knowing that there's solar Saros and lunar Saros, so you want one of each, okay? Lunar eclipses and solar eclipses follow each other. You want one of each. We do say that solar eclipses are much more significant in our lives, because they actually have the paths that are much more apparent around the world, and you can do a lot more work with eclipses and where the paths of them are around the world and what they mean to you. I'll do that another time. So again, how profound and so significant are what the eclipses and their lines and their charts, show us all the time. So let me go to the next one, and this Anne. I'm not sure if Anne's online. Yeah, okay. So Mary's saying, I found pre-birth eclipse Saros 127 on May 30th, 1965. And so that's the time before, isn't it? Yeah. This was the total solar, and the total solar on my birthday this year. There you go. So again, there's so much more work that you can do for yourselves looking into this. So again, I think eclipses, some are much more powerful for ourselves, or much more karmic and all that type of thing than just every eclipse, although we pay attention to all of them as well, right? So, okay, so now this is Anne's chart, and I'm going to put the examples on there. So Anne's also got the eclipses on her descendant. So Anne, are you there? Maybe I can unmute you. Maybe she's not. And again, so an eclipse happening on your descendant is pulling you out. It's pulling you out into the world to be much more responsive to others, what other people think of you, what you're doing in the world, and wanting, let's say, a rapport or a feedback. Right? You know, maybe ask your friends, you know, do you like this? Or, you know, I don't know, I don't really know what you're doing. You're probably studying astrology and you might be working at something else. I'm not really sure. But again, you're being pulled out into the world. And, you know, a lot of, let's say, tabloid astrology and stuff will say that, oh, you're about to meet a partner. Maybe you are. Maybe there is a new person in your life that's much more significant than just a friend or pulling you out into the world. You know, which one is it? You're not here to answer. Or maybe there's a whole level of those. And again, eclipse is happening in the 7th house. Oh, you are there. So, you know, in the 7th house, like what's been going, have there been some new connections going on in your life, kind of drawing you out into new experiences, or someone that you're interested in? I don't really know if you're married already, or, you know, again, could be so many levels. And here we have Neptune and Jupiter also on the, you know, squaring the sort of attached to the node. So it's interesting, the 2 charts that I've chosen today, or that have kind of come up, are the ones that have a really significant sort of aspect to pulling you out to, let's say, get on with the big dream that you have, not married and alone, but looking for meeting new people. Okay, so when you say that, Anne, are you actually, let's say, physically doing something about being out there and meeting new people? You know, not sitting at home. How old are you? 65, so you're coming into the 54 year as well. So again, an important sort of thing, looking at how you've always done things, right? This is how I've always done things, and being sort of led to do it a little bit differently, a little bit more empowered, like getting rid of, you know, some of the fears that sort of set you back, and thinking, oh, I don't look, you know, again, descendant stuff has a lot to do with the ascendant. You know, am I proud of myself? Am I, you know, all kinds of things come up. I mean, only you can really answer that. And then Neptune up there on the ascendant. Oh, okay, sorry, there's still stuff in court about an accident. Okay, sorry, I didn't know that. So you're fighting to get something through and push through, and that sounds like a big thing. When did the accident happen? And it's, you know, interesting, 17 years ago. Okay, here's a prediction. That's really, really interesting, because you're coming into your eclipse Saros cycles, right? If you look into them closer, and that's going to be 18 years in this year from that accident as well. Let me just think. 24. I'd have to do a bit more. I might, because I haven't sort of put this together yet, I might put it in the forum and not answer, but give the dates of your, what do you call it, Saros cycles, okay? But can you see what's happening there, guys? We're talking 17 years ago. In this next 8, you know, as the 18 years unfold, how important are Anne's Saros family to know about what's going on for her? So let's have a look. So I'm going to now have to go to my other thing. I got to go share my screen on desktop again, and I'm going. Oh no! Oh, hang on. So you're born in 65. So I'm looking at the eclipses that happened in 1965 and the year ahead before that. So again, I'm going back to my dynamics and eclipse search, And now I'm just going to add 1964, let's say 1964 and 1965. And let's have a look what we find there. So again, what was your birth date? Hang on, it's there. 14th of June. So we need to go before June, okay? And so she had one just 6 days before her birthday on the 30th of May. And it happened at 9 degrees of Gemini, and it's also part of that series that starts again in July this year. Okay, so Saros 127 is your total solar pre-birth eclipse, and of course one happened on your birthday at 22 Sagittarius, and that's the 139. So you see what I've done there? So again, you could look at the other one, lunar one, on 19th of December as well, because there's one that happened right on your birthday. Now let's go back to your chart there. And of course, we've got the sun right on the nodes there, and the moon's just off the nodes, being that lunar eclipse that we just found there. Okay, so and those eclipses that are coming up in July this year are the ones that are important for you, and they also come into your accident as well. So there's something, you know, big and connected to the time of your accident, what was happening to you at that time, and, you know, again, what was that accident about for you on a deeper level? I mean, an accident is an accident. So, but, you know, again, why did you have to have the accident? Why did it happen to you? What happened, and what was that all about? That's a very deep issue, and about, I think, a bit too serious perhaps to, a rebirth, and how that's come about for you and what that's meant to you. And yeah, definitely. So brain damage. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. Have you gotten better? A totally new me, and then living with that, experience. Interesting that it's kind of brain damage as well, because the Jupiter North Node Sun in Gemini, it's like, you know, in the 12th house, it's like taking you to a different plane. It's taking you to a different world of experience, and what you can tap into there. Quite incredible. You know, where's your, look at your Chiron and Saturn in the 10th house. From your experiences, you have a healer coming out, I would say. You're painting, so, you know, okay, healing, painting, very expressive way that perhaps wouldn't have come out without this kind of, just have to say, adjustment. Although, I find it very tender talking about accidents that happen to people. So there's a new truth that's being guided now as well. The astrology will be helping you. Oh, how lovely, helping people with voice and singing. And look at that Neptune up there. Yeah, responsive to divine harmony as opposed to the reality of what goes on in this life, and rising above it. So believe in what you're doing there, and that's really, really amazing. I'd love to hear more about your story. Wow. Wow, very interesting sometimes. Astrology just floors me all the time, and this is why we do it, because so we can keep, keep onto it and keep seeing the experiences and people's stories and what they're actually teaching us as well. But I hope the court story will end in a good way. And I'm sure the court story is about the person that was responsible perhaps for the accident, or getting a compensation for what happened to you. Yeah, okay, probably both. Oh, wow. Keep the faith. And a lot of corruption. Oh, there you go. So this is part of the story of the Capricorn here, and your influence in fighting a corrupt world. This is, again, what I've said so many things about what's going on. Like, we've all got a role to play, because we see corruption in your 7th house, and what you can do with it. This is what I'm saying. There's something coming into your world that's teaching you a lot. That's huge. So how do you fight that? Has anyone got any advice there? How do we fight the law and corrupt judges? geez. With information perhaps being a Gemini, with all that Gemini and the 12th house, with information and faith, with not fake news. South Node and Lilith, yeah. Oh yes, of course, yeah, all of that happening now on Lilith. So there is, you know, a higher role for you going on for sure about, you know, Lilith in Capricorn. That's the true Lilith there. So the mean one might be, you know, will be somewhere else. I think it's in Sagittarius. But so yeah, how significant that is. Have you got a backup? Have you got people that are, let's say, backing you, helping you with this, helping you through this, going to court with you, you know, all that kind of thing, that give you a lot more. Yeah, not many. Anyone living? Are you still in Belgium? Geez, how can we? How do we do this? So yeah, that's your big fight. Just stay strong, Anne. And I reckon in the community forum, like, keep us up to date. Keep telling us the story. That will help. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. As Mary's saying, get more people involved, even if it's just our community for now. Keep, you know, you trust us or whatever. There could be, you know, put your chart in there, explain your story a little bit more, or when's the next time you go to court? So, you know, the next developments, so to speak. It's a very, you know, really significant time. Yeah, you try with astrology. Well, I'm just saying, if you're feeling a little bit sort of alone and not, you know, and don't have enough support, like, air it out a bit. Yeah. That's all right. Again, there's a lot of people in the community that might have had experiences with this kind of thing, or fighting the law, or you know, this horrid stuff. And again, the world is fighting for justice in so many ways against corruption. And look what's happening in France. And oh my God, there's a lot going on, isn't there? Well, keep with it, Anne, and yeah, just know that we are there for you. Again, I don't have. I don't want to. Let me just think. The eclipses continue there. You know, the zero eclipses and into next year, I would say next year will be more significant, and towards the end of next year, when the next cycle eclipses have started, and the ones coming up in July. So we're going to watch this space for you, okay? So remind me of that. You know, you're a really great example of what's going on and how these eclipses are affecting you and your Saros series that you were born into. So yeah, really great example. Wow. Thanks for sharing that, hey? Anyway, I better go. I don't know if I'm going to get into trouble for being online too long. No, I know I won't. But as you can see, there's so much, you know, so much to sort of talk about and tell about. But mostly I want you to just do this exercise. Find your pre-eclipse Saros, or you might want to wait till you get the PDF for this, so you've got the links for the notes. But I'll put those down below the what do you call it, in the community group, so that they're all very available for you as well. So yeah, it's a big topic, but one I wanted to introduce you to, because again, how profound it is to find all these things out. So happy eclipses. Any other pressing questions? I think I've filled you up enough today. Yeah. Yeah, it's a really fascinating topic, and astrology is again amazing. And anyone that I've known that has done their Saros series work just goes, wow, 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 wow. Okay, so I want to hear back. Tell us more in the community forum, or on the forum. Ask a question. You know, again, what you'll find out yourself. All right, super interesting for all of us. All right. Thank you, guys. Thanks for being here. I always keep saying, wouldn't it be great if we could all meet for real again, like we did, as many of us in Astrology Rising. But I think we're all working on another interaction in Australia in 2021, guys. So keep it free. Keep the whole year free. Anyway, all right. I better go. I'll leave you all to it, and good luck with all the exploring. And I look forward to seeing you again. Okay. Thanks. Ciao for now.